Hi, my name is Maria. Thanks for stopping by. What you see here is a collage that I have finished on my spiritual journey junk journal book. This book is a recycled book, just like any book you can pick up at a secondhand store. It was used before. I bought it for nothing, and I decided to cover it with any medium that I wanted to at the time. It's been covered with paint, now it's been covered with papers because that's the kick that I'm on. I have been enjoying junk journaling a lot lately. So, this is where I keep my verses, inspirations, and prayers and thoughts that are so important to me in my life and the lives of my loved ones. So, here you see the original pages. And what I'm getting ready to do is glue some papers of my choice that I thought made a pretty layout, a pretty combination. I love blues and creams. I think they're very soothing. What I'm doing is using a glue that is pretty wet, and actually this one dries pretty quickly, so you have to work with it fast and you can't move it much. But I'm not particular to any glue yet. I don't have a favorite glue that I have found, but certainly a wet glue works great for this because it seems to be better than a stick glue, which may come off after a few years. So these seem to stay pretty long. I love this card. This card has a picture of a store that is open. Right now we have been going through a hard time in the whole world, and things have been closed, but that store says it's open. For me, and because of this being a spiritual journey for me, this means that as the store says it's open in this picture, God's heart it's open, and that his heart is always open. So feel free to come in whenever you want. Just because the world is closed, that doesn't mean God is. He's not. Anyway, I am finding here pieces that may go well with the colors I have chosen. And a lot of these little papers that you see with the orange colors on them and blues are from this original book, from different pages. I choose elements that I like. Sometimes I cut them up and I use them in collage to add to the same book in whatever project I'm working on. So here I'm creating a little collage that I find is aesthetically pleasing to me. On the right, I have created a little pocket where I can add some tags or cards to journal on. I'm showing you here that I have sewn the size of this card. I love stitching and what the sewing machine can do. It adds a lot of texture and detail. It just changes your piece. I just love it. I'm addicted to it lately. So what I've done is on the edges, and here I am gluing 3 of the edges of this card, or beautiful picture of that store that is open, just like God's heart is open. Remember that. I am gluing the 3 sides on this page. And what you can do with that is you're going to be able to insert in there all kinds of goodies that you may want to insert, like journaling cards, whatever you can think of can go in there. So that's what I'm trying to figure out and picturing as I inserted those tags in there, those papers actually, they're not tags yet. I'm proceeding to glue this piece, and I had already sewn this piece ahead of time. It is made with basically just scrapbooking paper of my choice. You see the flowered one and the cream one that I think goes very well with our colors of choice. The middle there that I'm working on right now, it's just been sewn together, glued, and it's just a pretty embellishment in that area of the page. I think it all flows pretty well, and I really love those colors. I tend to be a bright colored person. I'm trying to figure out now what to do as far as creating cards to go into these pockets I've created. But I decided to put a sticker up on this right page. And basically what that says is those who trust in God can do all things. How true is that? Right? So I love this picture of this bird, and it reminds me of Matthew 6:26. It says, "Behold the fowls of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much better than they?" And so I love birds anyway, but this special page just reminds me of how God will take care of us, and He's so faithful to us, to His children, if we just seek Him out. And listen, the doors may be closed, but just like this little store in this picture says, the door is open. Jesus's heart is open 24/7. Just an FYI, in case you need it. I think we all need it sometimes. So there I showed you how I put those little cards in the back of the bird. They look really cute, and I had actually backed them with some cardstock for to give them a little bit more thickness. Right now I am playing with a larger card here that I want to put on this right side pocket to make a journaling card, and I'm trying to figure out what kind of materials I'm going to use on it. Here I'm showing you the stitching along the side of the bird card, and I just love again that is extra texture that the stitches give you. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. That's fine if you don't have a machine. Again, these little cards have also been stitched, and you see that how it shows the stitches on the back. That doesn't bother me for personal use. I will be writing in between those stitches, but if I were to sell them to somebody, I would have to cover that with some kind of cardstock. I'm also rounding the edges just to make the cards look a little neater. You don't have to do that either, or you can use scissors if you don't have a corner edge trimmer. So again, you don't have to use stitches either. You could hand stitch, you could doodle stitch if that's what you liked, or there's even stamps that resemble stitching that you could use if that's what all you have. But just make it your own and enjoy the process while you're at it. This is just what I happen to have. I have an old machine that I've had for 30 years, and I just use it for paper anymore. So back to this card, I have lined this card and stitched it in the back with some cardstock to make it a little bit more sturdy. And I am trying to figure out what kind of materials will work with. Apparently I already did, because they have been sewn together. And I like those little orange images, whatever they are. They come from the original pages from the book itself. And so they go perfectly, of course, with the other little images. They're the same basically. And I'm showing you that in the back I have stitched, and I can write all that in the back. And I think I'm trying to figure out if I stitch more through these elements on the front of the card, because if I do that, the stitches will go through the back to the middle of the card. And I don't always want to do that, because then that means I have to cover it with cardstock. But I may end up doing that anyway. I'm not quite sure right now. I like uneven edges, a little more frayed edges, rustic edges. So this is not a straight edge in that last little piece I've been playing with. You see how I quickly glue, not much glue at all, just a stick glue to take it back to the sewing machine, I believe. And here I am adding this last little bit of paper that I've been messing with as a horizontal piece to kind of complement all the vertical lines, and just, it gives it a little contrast. So, and I'm thinking of adding a butterfly to it. Whoops, I have broken this butterfly. I believe I end up using maybe a different one, or I may use the same one and just glue it. You can cover things here in mixed media. You can easily repair things. Don't be afraid if something breaks. You can always touch it up somehow. And there's my butterfly that I have added, and I really truly enjoy the looks of it and how it's gonna look inside this pocket on the side. So what I think I'm going to do next is actually something that I dread having done, because this is some glue that is too liquidy or thick or whatever. It's not a glue stick. And what it has done is when I added it to the material, it made the material absorb all that glue and turn stiff and even change the color of that material on the left, that strip on the left, that ivory one. And so I don't like that. I should have used just a glue stick. I think at the time I was thinking I was going to leave it like that, but I believe that eventually I go to the sewing machine and I sew over all this, so I wouldn't have needed all this extra glue to begin with. But this is what I'm doing now. And now that I'm looking at it, maybe I'm wrong what I'm telling you. I'm not quite sure because I don't remember. So let's see, what am I doing here? I think that looks pretty good. I love the colors. I love the color scheme and the layout. I think it all works well together. And we're going to need some embellishments, of course. Let's see. We have some uh, lovely stickers. Actually, I bought these very cheap at Walmart, and they're inspirational stickers. This one says, "Forget the day's troubles, remember the day's blessings." How needy are we of this? My gosh, we can focus on our troubles, but there's always blessings, guys. There's always blessings in the worst of times. And I know, believe me, I've been through the worst sometimes, and I cannot see the blessings for nothing, but they have been there. When I look back, they have been there, and the Lord has been with me. So we must always remember the day's blessings no matter what's going on. And that's really tough, isn't it? Now, the second sticker I'm struggling here with, it says, "Blessed are the peacemakers." I see people nowadays are going out and about and they are protesting because of their rights. And I think that's all great and wonderful. And I think it's great that they're able to protest in peace, most of them. I did hear of some cases of people with guns and things like that. Let's not go that way. I think we can protest peacefully. This card again, see how it has changed now. I have taken it to the machine and done zigzag stitching around the edges with some dark either black or navy color, and because it really pops. And you see I have sewn all over the little pieces inside the card, and look what's done in the back. It has given me all these stitches that there's no way I can leave it like that. I have to definitely glue cardstock on the back of it to be able to write on the back of this card. So I hope that makes sense as to what I mentioned before. Sometimes I would leave some stitches if they're around the frame of the card. That's okay because I can still write in between the stitches. But this is crazy. There's no way I could leave this. So I get like a medium width or something cardstock, and I glue it on so that I can go ahead and write on the back of it pretty comfortably. Again, if I were to sell this, I have to make sure it is good quality cardstock so that people can write on it very well. And I really love what the stitches have done to this card. I'm cleaning the back of it and it just pops. The edges around the elements and around the card really make everything pop, all the colors pop. And I think it's a great addition. Again, I'm very partial to these zigzag stitching or even straight stitch. I use that sometimes, but for now I am addicted to the zigzag stitching and I see the difference. You can see how that butterfly now looks much different than it did before if you look back, and all the colors, it makes a difference. Don't worry about the little bubbles or little bumps from the stitches. That comes with the territory, and that's okay. Even if I were to sell it like that, that's okay because it's hand created and it's stitched, and you are gonna have the little bumps from the stitches. You can't get away from that. I have this little sticker that says blessed on it. I feel like a very blessed person, and I had originally put it on the right side, but I removed it and put it on the bottom left side of that little image of that little store that is open. Remember, it's open like Jesus' heart is open. Right now I'm showing you all the cards I've made and all the stitching detail. What I do love to do in some of the stitching is to go over backwards and forwards a few times when I do those zigzag stitches, because what that does is it adds a lot of texture. It adds interest. It darkens the piece. So it really makes a difference in what you're doing. Now I'm putting it all back together. And I am thinking that I'm going to need to add something to the top of the cards. So some of these cards are going to get a little extra embellishment. I am just placing some little dots with pencil where I'm going to put a hole in them with my crocodile. I love this tool. I'm not very good at using it. I don't use it all the time. And that gives me perfect holes to insert eyelets. So you see there, I am inserting these little metal pieces, and then I squash them with a crocodile as well. So it serves two purposes. You make the holes, insert the pieces, and then you squash the metal pieces to make a soft edge, so it doesn't, so the card is all nice and finished. I am adding some little, what do you call that? Sorry ribbon. That's what that is on this card. I like to keep things a little rustic where I can, because that's really my taste. I'm more of an informal, rustic type of person. And on this beautiful bird, I am putting a piece of material that actually goes with the card right there that we just finished. And I'm going to put the material through, and I am going to finish the card off with that little, what do you call that? That little ribbon type thing, but it's with a cloth. And I actually prefer those a lot of times more than just perfect ribbon with perfect edges, because I love the ragged look of materials and fabrics and what they do. So there you go, guys. Pretty much this is what the spread looks once it's done. And there's, oh, before I forget, on the bottom left, I have created this little ruffle out of paper. That's that designer paper that you see, those flowers, dark navy blue flowers. And all you do is you gather them together and you sew on them. You can do this by hand if you like, or you could just use glue. And the glue that I like is this pH neutral PVA glue. It seems to work for everything. I'm not too picky, but it seems to hold everything pretty well. Last but not least, Romans 8:28, this little card tells us that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. Remember, guys, Jesus is open 24/7. His heart is never closed. Call on him. I'll be praying for you. God bless you, and I hope you like this. Bye-bye.